Myers Park great Drake Maye set to become the first Charlotte native to start a Super Bowl. He's also the first Tar Heel to start a Super Bowl. So we are pleased and honored to bring in the winningest coach in North Carolina football history, Mack Brown. Coach, thank you for joining us. You've watched a lot of Super Bowls, I'm sure. You're going to watch one with one of your former quarterbacks starting next Sunday. What do you think that'll be like?
Well, it's going to be fun because yeah, I'm seeing him make the same plays now that he did at Carolina for the 2 years he played. And the most amazing thing right now about Drake is he's 23 years old. He'll be the second youngest quarterback to ever play in a Super Bowl behind Dan Marino, and Dan didn't win at that age. So if Drake could win the game, he'll be the youngest, not only to second youngest to play, but the youngest to ever win a Super Bowl, which is really cool. And he's the only quarterback from North Carolina to ever play in a Super Bowl, so that makes it cool as well.
When did you first hear the name Drake May? Do you remember when that was? I mean, I know obviously his dad played at Carolina and he has all those ties, but um, you had Sam first, and then you were able to get Drake, and we'll talk about that. But when do you remember first hearing about him?
Well, Mark actually worked for me, his dad, and he was after a great career at Carolina. His shoulder was hurt. He played a little bit with Tampa Bay and played some um, in another league as well. But Mark was a graduate assistant for me in my first year at Carolina, and so I've known he and Ame for most of my life and their lives coming out of college, and just then obviously everybody knows Luke and the last second shot to win a national championship at Carolina, and Luke was a friend. I love watching him play, and then Cole wins a national championship in baseball at Florida, and of course, we knew Bo because he was around a lot in my second stint at Carolina as a basketball player at Carolina, and then he helped coach, and now I'm a head coach in Charlotte as well. So I've just known the entire family, and their Mark and Amy should write a book on how to raise kids because they're all great people first, and to be competitive, to be confident, but to be as humble as they are and have the faith in God that they have is really unique. And that's what's been so much fun to watch.
What do you remember about dealing with Drake in the recruiting process and when you saw him play ball, actually? You knew the family, you knew of Drake, but then you see him throw the football.
Well, when we came back, we didn't feel like we had a quarterback, so we first heard Sam Howell, and Sam was committed to Florida State. So we immediately went to Sam's high school and talked to his mom, talked to his dad, and said, "Come on, man, you're a great quarterback in the state of North Carolina. Why are you going to go that far away from home? Stay here." So we were able to get Sam to come. Sam and Drake are really good friends. They even room together some in the
Yeah.
spring when they're working out. And then I knew the May family to North Carolina is like the Manning family. They are the first family of the state of North Carolina when it comes to sports. And I went immediately to see Drake when we could and sat down with him, and I thought we were in good shape. And he made a great point. He said, "Coach, the team's won 2 games and 3 games the last 2 years. Nobody's in the stands. I don't want that. I want to ring like my brothers. I want to go where I can win." And I said, I got it. So he called me up in the mountains in the summer and said, "Coach, I thought he was going to commit." And he called and said, "I'm going to Alabama." And I said, that's a crusher, man. We can't do that. We can't lose Drake May. It's like, again, the Manning's not coming to Archie Manning, not coming to Ole Miss because you mean so much to this state. So I said, I got it. And he explained the no crowds and losing. And I said, I got all that. I understand. We've got to fix all that. And I said, what I want you to do is just make sure that you don't just drop us. Just watch and listen and see if we can win and see if we can put people in the seats and see if we can make this something where you can stay home, where you should be. And I said, as long as I'm the head coach at North Carolina, you're going to have a scholarship. So just remember that. And then we opened up beating South Carolina. We beat Miami the second game. Sam looked great. And I didn't know whether Sam would hurt us or not because of his success, and whether Drake would want to sit and wait a year. And the other amazing, and then he went through the season. We did better, and Drake came down a couple of times and just decided this was what was best for him. And thank goodness he did. But I always recruited where I thought the guys should go. And to me, Drake Maye needed to be at North Carolina just for the state, for his family, for the university, for his life when he gets through. Because NIL is really after you get through.
Yeah.
And he's going to have a great life in Charlotte at some point when he quits playing football.
Well, so you're in the mountains, probably relaxing when you got the crushing call that he wasn't coming to North Carolina. What do you remember about the call where he told you he was?
Well, number one, his parents made him call, so they didn't call. Even with my relationship with his dad, and he was very good. He was very honest. Coach, how you doing? How's thing going? I thought, okay, we're going to get a commitment right here. This is going to be great. And then when he told me, I was shocked. But then when I got off the phone, I said, you know what? I don't blame him. I mean, what he hadn't seen us do anything.
Yeah.
And Alabama's winning national championships. So I totally understand. And he had two guys in his a dad who had played in the NFL where he wants to get, and he had two guys with national championship rings as older brothers. So I totally understand. He was so much class. I didn't get mad because I love him and his family, and just said, I got it, understand, but let's don't shut the door. Let's just keep it open and keep looking at this thing as we go through the season.
What do you remember about the call to tell you he was going to come to Chapel Hill?
We actually came up with a family and sat in my office and said, Coach, you're right. This is good. This is where I want to be. It's what I've dreamed of my whole life. And the interesting thing for both Sam and Drake is they grew up wanting to be and expecting to be the quarterback at the University of North Carolina. They grew up expecting to be in the NFL as quarterbacks, and here they are, and and I'm so happy for them. The older boys throw the rings in Drake's face all the time about I got one of these, so don't you start talking about how cool you are or how cool things are. And he had a chance. We played Clemson for the conference championship after the Orange Bowl that year, and we won the division. Had a chance to beat Clemson, get his ring. We didn't do that. We lost the game, so now he has a chance again to get that ring, and this would be a big ring to put back in their face.
You have coached some of the best college quarterbacks the last quarter century at least. What made Drake special?
It's a unique combination. He's very confident. People can't imagine with his nice smile and his great personality how tough and competitive he is. And that's what you don't even realize watching him in high school. I mean, he could have played college basketball. He could be obviously a great college football player. But the other trait that he has is he's so humble, and that gets him where he can be such a leader in the locker room. And I've always said a guy like Drake has the it factor, and people say, what does that mean? When he walks in a room, everybody stops and looks. Everybody wants to meet him. Everybody wants to talk to him. And even just his interviews and watching his interaction with his coaches and players during the game, people ask me, is he real? Is this who he is? And it is. And I'd watch him in off-season program, and he wanted to win every race. He's so competitive. And he'd beat some of those defensive backs, and I'd laugh at them. They said, he's got long legs. And I said, well, he does. And he's really fast. And that's something that surprises people too. But he grew up as that younger brother of four. He had to compete every day in pickleball and golf and basketball and ping pong, and that family competes in whatever they do every day that they do it. And I think that's what makes him special.
And you talk about the physical tools, but the football IQ for a second year quarterback in pro football is clearly there. He pulls in that run so his linemen don't peak. Were there moments, even when he wasn't playing yet, he was behind Sam, or when he first started to compete for that starting spot, that you noticed this guy's got some savvy?
Yes, he number one, he never complained about not playing as a redshirt freshman. He just said, Sam's, I got it. And he pulled for Sam, and he and Sam spent so much time watching film together. And he was raised with a dad that was a quarterback, a great quarterback in the ACC at North Carolina, but also in the NFL. So he was coached by that dad. Mark coached him his entire life, and then we were fortunate. We had a offensive coordinator leave after the first year, and we started looking for a guy. Who do we want? So Drake came in and said, Coach, there's a lot of rumors about me going somewhere else. I'm not going anywhere. And that was for lots of money. So we talk about tampering, we talk about him taking other opportunities. So he said, I'm staying right here. And I said, Well, we don't have a lot of money. I'll try to get you some. And he said, I don't care. I'm not about money. I want us to win all the games. And that's who this young guy is. And then I said, okay, I'm going to look at about five coaches and the um, ones that we can afford. What are you looking for? What do you want? He said, well, and he just become the National Player of the Year. I mean, as a freshman.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he says, Coach, I want to work on my feet. Sometimes I drift too much in the pocket and I drift toward pressure. I want to work on my throwing motions. So if you can get me somebody that'll help me do that. And then actually had him interview the last two guys I talked to. And thank goodness we came up with the same name because I'd probably had to hire who he wanted if I didn't want him. And then we're so blessed to have Clyde Christensen. He had just retired with Tampa Bay. He had coached Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Jameis Winston, and Andrew Luck. And then the NCAA said an analyst can coach you full time. So Clyde was able to coach Drake full time. So we had an NFL coach, one that's been at the highest level, coaching Drake every day. So I felt like between he and Chip Lindsey, who had two quarterbacks in the NFL that he had previously coached, that the preparation was really good.
Coach, last question for you. As Drake is about to start in the Super Bowl in his second pro season, and as he's gone on to success beyond the confines of the state of North Carolina, what makes you proudest of Drake Maye?
The person that he is, he hadn't changed any, and I love the fact that he's got such strong faith, and he openly talks about it. He still goes to sporting events. He doesn't hide as a celebrity because he is a celebrity now in Boston. He's out at sporting events. He's at a junior high basketball game, being seen and talking to people. And um, he and Sam got involved with a charity called Table in Chapel Hill, and that was to feed underprivileged kids that are hungry in the state of North Carolina. So I hope he wins. We've got Chaz Surratt playing on special teams on the other team. So I texted with Chaz this morning. So I told them both I want them to play their best and have fun and stay healthy. I'm not getting into who I want to win because that'd be unfair for me choosing between players. But that's what I'm most proud of Drake is he hasn't changed. And a lot of people, when they get success, change. And I'll close with this. He becomes National Player of the Year, and the university comes to me and says, we want to put Drake's name in the stadium because the National Players of the Year, their name goes in the stadium. So I go to Drake and I'm all excited and I said, hey, you're going to have your name in the stadium, man. And he said, can you wait till after I get through playing? I don't want that to be thrown out there in front of the other players because all these other players helped me get that award. And I thought that's cool. And then it came senior day and I said, I think you should walk on senior day because fans want to say thank you. And he said, Coach, I'm not a senior and I'm not graduating. So I don't think that would be fair to the other seniors who have spent their time and ready to graduate for me to do that. And that's just how humble he is. You hear the most valuable player MVP chants, and he deflects all that stuff. And there's absolutely no doubt that he would rather win the Super Bowl than be the most valuable player. And that's just who he is, and that's what makes him so special.
You know, Coach, with Chaz, can we count two Carolina quarterbacks in the Super Bowl this year?
I hadn't thought about that, but that's exactly right. I think Chaz is doing a great job on special teams and backing up at linebacker, so he probably wouldn't want you to say that, but that's something that I hadn't thought about.
Nobody with more wins as Tar Heels head coach, and nobody better at flipping Charlotte quarterbacks up to Chapel Hill. Coach Brown, we appreciate you as always.
Thanks for having me on.